All right, everybody. We're going to give folks a chance to get connected here before we get started. Meanwhile, I'm going to refresh my page so that I can see all your comments as you leave them, because that's always important as well. All right. That show flew by today. I don't know if it's because maybe I'm still asleep. I mean, I came in extra early because I didn't want to risk being, I don't know, late, rushing to get set up and things like that. So I came in extra early. Just not huge early, but, like an hour and 10 minutes earlier than normal because of the time change. And I'm like, right now I'm awake and kicking. The coffee's firing. Here comes a yawn. Oh, boy. Excuse me. Yeah, so it'll catch up with me later, I'm sure. Those kids will run it out of me. That's going to happen later. All right, so we're going to give everybody the opportunity to get connected before we get started here. So first off, I'll say, let me know if you have any questions. If there's anything specifically you want to talk about, just throw a comment up over here. I'll go through those throughout the show periodically to make sure that that I'm actually delivering a product that you're interested in. But we have a couple of interesting things to cover today. There's new technology out there that will... Have you ever gone to the McDonald's to get ice cream and they say, oh, sorry, our shake machine is down? And you're like, really? And it's like, the shake machine is like always down here. Well, now there's new technology coming because most of the time the shake machine isn't actually broken. It's that it's such a pain in the butt to clean that once they clean it early in the shift to get it over with, they don't want to use it again because they'll have to clean it again. So it's offline, doesn't work right now. Well, now there's new technology that's going to narc on those employees so that they can't lie to you and tell you the shake machine is down. Literally, there's an app for that. It's mind-blowing. Also, new Apple M1 chips coming out. They're actually stacking the two M1 chips on top of each other, so we're going to tell you about that here as well. Also, of course, all the stuff going on in Ukraine right now is just... it is... nobody knows what's going to happen next, and I think that's part of it. And one of the things that's really frustrated me, or is frustrating to me, I do understand the desire to not cause World War III. I get that. You can't have a war without two sides that are willing to fight. So obviously, if one side is just not willing to fight, you won't have a war, right? Not quite sure it always works that way. Everything that we're hearing about the Ukraine crisis, we're responding to it, right? So Russia invades the Ukraine, we respond with sanctions. Russia, pushes harder into the Ukraine, we give them more sanctions. Russia starts shelling hospitals, we start taking ships and apartments from oligarchs. There's a tit-for-tat response for everything. But Russia says, oh, you better not move jets in there, or you better not send them weapons, or you better not do this, or you better not do that. And, we're like, oh, we don't want to... I understand why it's important for NATO not to do anything, because NATO is a defensive alliance. So if NATO actually goes on the offensive, that is, it invalidates a lot of, of things that were said over time. But when individual countries want to provide, or if the United States wanted to provide materials, weapons, things like that, or a no-fly zone or things like that, we don't want to do that because it might anger Putin and cause World War III. I'm not sure anyone has noticed yet, but I think we already are in World War III. I think this is kind of the smolder phase. And the question is, what is he going to do next? Is he going to be satisfied with just one country, or is he going to try to take another one, or another one? Or were there legitimate security concerns in Russia's eyes here that caused them to do this to the Ukraine that would be sated by that? Or was that just the excuse for taking the Ukraine? We just don't know. And there's no consequence. Like, what's the end game here? Is Russia going to occupy Ukraine and move weapons to Poland's border to defend against the NATO alliance that's obviously threatening them by being present on their border that wasn't their border before but now is? Are we going to intercede? By we, I mean allied forces, not necessarily just America, but are we going to stay out of it? And I have to tell you, it's like it tears me up because you see the video. I'm looking at it right now. An American journalist just got killed. Oh my gosh! So you see video like this, and you know, a pinky finger worth of American military power would absolutely destroy these guys on the ground. These Russian troops have not fought well. Now, what we're hearing in the news now is these weren't the actual good troops. These were like the second-tier troops. We sent them in first because this was supposed to be a cakewalk. Wanted to give them some experience. Well, they got their helmets handed to them. And now the forces that are going in that column, those are the actual Russian forces. These are the big dogs. These are like the normal military, not conscripts. These are nasty, nasty Russian military dudes you don't want to mess with. Yeah, it's so far Russia has not put on a good show. It doesn't, or good showing, I should say. It doesn't look like it's anybody that America would be afraid to fight. Should America get involved? I'm like, it's not our fight. Yeah, it's terrible what's happening. It's approaching genocide here, I think. Do we have a moral obligation to intercede? That's a slippery slope. It has to be pretty clearly defined. Interceding will cause a problem, however. It will, if we're directly killing Russian troops, how would we respond if Russian forces went into the Iraq War and fought Americans directly, on behalf of Iran or whatever? We would be pretty upset about that. Russia would be pretty upset if we started attacking their forces head on. But the thing is, there's not even the threat of that happening. So every time Putin does something, we respond to it, but we respond by telling him what we're not going to do. We are not going to send planes. We are not going to impose a no-fly zone. We are not going to do this. We are not going to do that. And he can, if you know what your opponent's not going to do in every instance, it really helps you game your offensive out a little bit better. You don't have to even consider the fact that they might do this or they might do that because it's off the table. So rather than saying we're not going to impose a no-fly zone, why not say we're looking into this. We're not sure now is the time to do it, but it's definitely something we're capable of doing. I didn't say I was going to do it. Didn't say I wasn't going to do it. Said we were capable of doing it. There you go. Are we going to send planes to the Ukraine? Well, we have allied countries that really do want to send their planes to the Ukraine. The United States is concerned with some of the logistics of that. These planes have kind of been mothballed for years. You can't just jump in them and take off. You're going to need to retrofit and refurb them. It's going to take a little time. It's going to take an American air base to do that, which is why they wanted to move them all to Germany before they dispatched them. That and the political cover as well of not directly sending them from Poland, against Russian forces. So, there's a lot of different things that you can do here. Is Putin committing war crimes? It's too early to say, is what the administration says. Well, why not say, it certainly appears that way, but we're going to be very cautious with the intelligence and make absolutely certain before we level that kind of an accusation, because that kind of an accusation carries with it a requirement to act. And we want to be very careful before we do that. Ooh. So if I keep blowing up, maternity wards and retirement home. He blew up a retirement home yesterday. Those old Ukrainians were really fighting hard there in the memory home. If I keep blowing up these civilian targets, I don't have a price to pay for that. I've done it in Syria, nothing happened to me. I did it in Georgia, I did it in Crimea, nothing happened to me. I'm going to do it in the Ukraine. I'll level the whole dang country if I have to, kill every person in the country and every dog in the country if I have to, and nothing's going to happen to me. Because I know it, because they told me nothing was going to happen. So it's a little frustrating that, we're not using our soft power a little bit better, And I get it. You don't want to provoke World War III. I understand that, and that is an admirable goal. But there's also the point at which, and we learned this during the Second World War, going out of your way to not provoke a war sometimes is the easiest way to get into a nasty war. And that goes back to Reagan's peace through strength. People don't pick on people who are bigger than them or who they're intimidated by. So sometimes you have to be big and intimidating. You can't be, meek and pleasant all the time. Sometimes you have to be the big, nasty guy in the room. And right now that guy's Putin. I'm not saying I want to be like Putin, but sometimes you need a big, nasty guy to fight a big, nasty guy. And I'm not sure when our generals are more concerned about training soldiers to better assess their gender identities. That's a real thing that's happening, by the way. When that's the concern going on in the military, rather than preparing for war-fighting capability, when we have a ship that can't be deployed because the captain is not vaccinated, and it's in court because he has an exemption, a religious exemption, and the Navy is saying, well, we can't deploy your ship because you're the captain and you're not vaccinated and we can't deploy an unvaccinated force. Really? It's a war. And you're worried about a vaccination. It's war. And it's a little frustrating. So I don't know. Like I said, there's parts of me that are like, we need to do more. And then there's parts of me that are like, it's not our fight. And those parts of me are fighting. But at some point, we don't go to war with China because they're stealing organs from Uyghurs. We know it's happening. It's literally a human organ farm. But we don't go fight them. We don't go attack China. We don't put sanctions on China. We don't cut off their internet. We don't cut off their oil. We don't stop importing from them because of that. But yet with Russia, it's different. Why? Is it because Russia's not completely critical to our survival? Well, I have to tell you guys, I'm really, really disturbed about this inflation. I found out yesterday that now a box of Wheat Thins has 28 fewer crackers in it, but the price is the same. Doritos is removing chips from the bag to keep the price the same. I thought the bag of Doritos felt a little lighter, but I was like, this is just in my head. No, they're actually taking some chips out of the bag to count. It's not. We're not going to raise the price. We're just going to reduce the amount of product you get, which is raising the price per ounce, basically. Gosh, what were some of the other ones? Food companies are cutting back on the amount you're getting for what you're spending. Prices are going up, as all of us know, especially for gasoline right now, as all of us know. I can't wait to get out of my diesel truck. Let me tell you what. Whoo, diesel's killing right now. I'm like, come on, Ford, finish my truck early. Finish my new F-150 early so I can get my gasoline truck back. Because, boy, it's $5 a gallon right now in the metro area for diesel. So it's insane, guys. But, we're going to keep doing what we do to try to create a nice, stable, sane environment for your computer technology where things can work the way they're supposed to work, and when they don't work the way they're supposed to work, you have someone that you can go to get those taken care of. All right, good morning, Randy. Good morning, Mary. Aaron fell asleep. I'm glad I could entertain you, Aaron. All right, thank you, Winston, for the audio check. Mitch, good to have you. Happy daylight savings time, Deborah. Roger's back. Good morning. Hopefully everyone in truck will remember daylight savings. Otherwise, they're just tuning in for the radio show now, and they're like, oh, schneik. At least I can get the After Schrock. We do have a higher viewership right now than we did during the radio show. I worked for McDonald's for 8 years in the 90s. When our ice cream and shake machines were down, it was from making ice cream cones too quickly. The machine simply couldn't keep up. It wasn't because our machine was dirty. Yeah, the machines now... Let me just get to that story real quick, Aaron. So, how McDonald's keeps getting embarrassed by an engineer's little app. Customers are annoyed, and an app shows them how annoyed they should be, and now there's a lawsuit. Big companies sometimes tell themselves that little things don't matter, but the little things become big things, and sometimes it's too late. For the longest time, McDonald's has had a little problem. Its wonderful ice cream machines don't always work, or more precisely, aren't always working. Many say that they break down too often. Some claim they're too difficult to clean, so harassed employees simply don't clean them and shut them down instead. And there's an app that keeps ribbing McDonald's about the whole thing. You'd think that a vast corporation like McDonald's would get around to something like ice cream machines. Those McFlurries are really good. Instead, the problems persisted for years, and now the company is being sued by a startup called Kitsch for an icy $900 million. Kitch accuses McDonald's of not doing enough to maintain the machines, instead offloading a service contract to the Taylor Company, who also happens to be McDonald's commercial kitchen provider. Kitch, you see, believes there's a simple tech solution. So simple it's called the Kitch solution. This, Kitch claims, allows customers to monitor and control soft-serve machines remotely. Now, customers in this case would be the franchise owners, right? They can monitor the machines to make sure that they're up and running. How does this little thing work? You'd be aghast to hear that it's not complex. In Kitch's lawyer's words, the Kitch solution retrieves data from McDonald's soft-serve machines, displays it on a Kitch's user-friendly interface, and then adjusts settings hidden deep in the machines which can prevent outages before the machines can detect an error. Kitch claims that McDonald's and Taylor have spent 20 years failing to develop an adequate Internet of Things solution for this truly irritating problem. Some of Kitch's accusations make for a digestion-threatening reading. For example, McDonald's and Taylor held bi-weekly meetings devoted to copying the technology from Kitch. Oh, so that's why Kitch is mad. So basically, it's not that the machines are always broken. Some of the time it's that the machines are really hard. The modern machines are very hard to clean. Like the disassembly takes time. And you're a McDonald's employee. You're not exactly, there with a ton of extra time on your hands. And, when are the machines not in use? So you have to take them offline to clean them, right? So we're offline for cleaning. Okay. It takes a long time to clean. They're hard to clean. You put them back together. And the second you get them all clean and put back together, they go right back into use again. It's hard to justify cleaning the coffee maker if the coffee maker is in use 24 hours a day. If you're constantly pouring cups of coffee out of it, why would you stop and clean it? You just keep making coffee. At the end of the day, you clean it, right? Well, apparently there's some logistic thing with these machines that you have to do some kind of maintenance to them midday. Like Aaron was saying, maybe it's because they're getting used too frequently. Maybe they're getting too cold or something. I don't know. But long story short, this company made a device that would fit on a McDonald's shake machine to tell the owner of the franchise whether or not the machine was down. So that he could call in and be like, fix the shake machine. Why is it offline? And you can't tell the boss it's just down, because he knows. He'll be like, well, then get it fixed. Call Taylor. All righty. We need to send the vice president to Moscow to straighten Putin out. That'd go well. Last week I had my computer in for a maintenance checkup. The staff at Lincoln Service Center are always great. It seems as though the Lincoln location has a lot of turnover. Is it more than the other locations? We've had Eli and Kane in there for the past 3 years. So those two are pretty stable. Our front desk position we lost our front desk actually. We mutually decided that perhaps she had grown tired of the position. Let's put it that way. Capable of delivering great service, but not always doing that intentionally. That can't happen. And then, we got used to having, the 4 technicians and no front desk. And, Kane is asking me, when am I going to get my front desk back? When am I going to get my front desk back? Now we're taking one of his technicians and we're going to give him his front desk back. So it's not that there's turnover necessarily. Chris, for example, from Lincoln is being promoted. So it's not turnover. Has kind of a negative connotation to it. But part of what we do at Schrock is we deliver award-winning service. Not everybody is cut out to do that. And unfortunately, everybody looks cut out to do that in the interview. And when you get to know them for the 90 days, you realize which people are actually people who care about people and which people are the ones who are faking it. You can fake it for so long, but you can't fake it for 3 months in front of everybody that you work with every day, all day. So yeah, there's a little turnover in the trainees, but not so much in the rest of the staff. Z's been there for, 6-7 months now. There's the possibility he might be relocating to Omaha, though, so we could see some turnover there just because he's moving. So he would just transfer to our Omaha service center. But yeah, we are hiring in Lincoln. We're hiring a technician. We're hiring a front desk. So I would encourage you to take a look at Indeed.com to look for those job opportunities. If you're somebody who cares about people and is looking for a company that believes the same, we'd love to have you. The world is paying the price for America's leadership and confidence. KJ, I hear what you're saying there, and it's not that I disagree that there is it's not that I agree with the current leadership. Let's put it that way. Um, there are some things like, why are we the leader of everything? You know, this is like saying that, we're the captain of every sports team in every sport. Can't there be another captain? Can't there be somebody who's like, that's your area. That's what you play soccer, I play football. Football and soccer is different. Don't you call soccer football. It's not football. It's soccer. And I'll measure it in feet and yards. Yeah, that's right. Not in meters. But, it's like, why can't Europe handle this? Isn't that what the European Union is for? That's an economic union. Yeah, they've been asking for a standing army for a long time. Get your stuff together and handle it. Look at what Poland's doing. Poland's doing an amazing job taking care of these refugees. They're kind of busting at the seams. They're doing an amazing job. Where's the rest of Europe? You don't hear about Spain taking in refugees or Italy. You hear about people in Germany. When some of the evacuees got to Germany, there were Germans standing there with signs like, I can take 3, I can take 5. Just people with houses stepping up and doing their part to help out. That's great. That's amazing, right? And that's what Poland's doing. But where's the rest of Europe? What are you doing? Are you afraid to tick off Putin because you'll lose your natural gas? Don't worry, you've got windmills. You'll be fine. Yeah. So, I don't know. I hear what you're saying, that yes, there's a leadership void that maybe allowed this to happen, whereas it might not have happened under other circumstances, but under yet other circumstances, we'd be at war. If George W. Bush was president, we'd probably be bombing Russia right now. It's just, if Trump was president, maybe Russia would have thought twice about it and not done it in the first place because they didn't know what that crazy guy was going to do. Biden has chosen to telegraph exactly what he's going to do to avoid miscalculation. But what that's allowed Putin to do is to calculate very precisely. And, yeah. Does the UN have a moral obligation to stop Putin? Is Russia is a member of the UN, isn't it? Yeah, they are. They're a permanent member. They have a veto power. So they can, anything the UN wants to do to Russia, Russia can just veto it. So there won't be any resolutions. There'll be human rights like committee votes, and there was a symbolic vote. There'll be symbolic things that come out of the UN, but nothing of substance, which is usually the case. Good morning, Janet. Did you hear that BlockFi can't offer BlockFi interest accounts as of February 14th? Yeah, KJ, this whole thing with Russia has caused... all right, so everyone thought Russia was going to use cryptocurrency to, skirt around the sanctions. And so everybody started really looking at cryptocurrency companies. And everybody under that scrutiny is like, does the law technically say we can do what we... So crypto's kind of operated in the sense so far of the law doesn't say we can't do it, so therefore we can do it. Reasonable, right? Unless there's a law against something, you can do it. Well, now what they've switched footing to say, is there a law that says we can do that? And existing laws for other things are being stretched to try to cover crypto when they don't fit. So, for example, BlockFi was offering interest accounts. So BlockFi was, you deposit your cryptocurrency at BlockFi. And then BlockFi was loaning cryptocurrency out to other people who want to use it for trading or whatever else. And then you receive interest on your deposit. It's like a bank, basically. But they're not a bank. And so even though they're not doing anything with dollars, they're not touching a dollar, now they're a bank. So imagine that you are a rancher. And you come up with a deal where you can deposit 10 cows on my ranch. In exchange for that, I will give you something else of value. And I'm going to hold your 10 cows as collateral, right? And then when other people, those 10 cows, they got to eat, right? So other people are going to deposit grains and food and whatever else cows need, and they're going to receive a return on their investment. We're going to pay them back plus a little bit of interest once we get payments from the guy who gave us the cows, because he's paying interest. You're a cow bank now, right? According to the federal government, you are now a bank. Even though you never touched a dollar, everything is done in grain and cows, you're a bank. Congratulations. So, yeah, so BlockFi had this. A bunch of us that are in, we have a little crypto group that emails back and forth from the After Schrock here, and we were all on Gate.io, and we all got emails saying that Gate.io is booting us from the platform because we're in the United States. Some of the tokens that are traded on Gate are not permitted in the United States. The way that Gate is structured, if you use some of their products like liquidity mining, you're paid in Gate tokens, which are not legal in the United States. So I sell my Gate tokens because it says on the thing, warning, you can't trade in these. Make sure you liquidate them within 90 days. I liquidate them the same day. I'm compliant, right? I went through Know Your Customer. They know I'm in the U.S. They took my photo ID. They didn't lock me out of any programs because of my geographic location. Full access to the platform, just using the platform. And then they just come down and say, can't do any of this. So somebody, to have BlockFi having this happen, to have Gate.io have this happen, there is some federal pressure on crypto coming that nobody's talking about. Something is being pushed. So the one place left that I've been looking into other alternatives, for those of you who are interested in this, Gemini is amazing. So Gemini is a place you can still get interest on your crypto there. 8% interest on stablecoin, actually, 8.05% to be precise, on GUSD. So that's a pretty impressive interest rate. It doesn't quite cover inflation, but I mean, it covers the official inflation print by 1%. The real inflation rate is estimated to be around 15.38%. So anyway, yeah. So there's your crypto update, guys. Candy bars are getting smaller and more expensive. Yeah, yep, I hear you there. Those peanut butter eggs, I'll tell you what. Best way to fight back is don't buy. Yeah, you see, that works unless you're in a global economy. Because unless you can get everyone in the world to all not buy at the same time, it doesn't work. Because the global price of oil, if China buys, let's say China buys all of Russia's oil, that means China is going to buy less oil from other places, which in essence means that Russia's oil is still supplying the market. Because the price of oil should come back down because less is going to China, more is available for everybody else, supply and demand curve, price comes down. Do you know that none of these energy sanctions are even going into effect until June? We haven't actually banned anything yet from an energy perspective. Europe, to get on board, Europe said that you have to wait until June. They want to make sure they're out of the winter entirely, out of heating season, before this goes through. Because if Russia cuts off their gas, their citizens can't heat their homes, literally. They have no other energy source. Because they won't turn on the nuclear power plants again. Because they have windmills, but the wind doesn't always blow. And the solar panels can't keep up. Yeah. Oh, let's see. What else do we got here? Made it. Yeah, daylight savings time. Don't worry, guys, if you missed the show, it'll be available online at SchrockInnovations.com tomorrow. You can watch it there. Let's see. Do you need a UPS to protect routers, or is a good surge protector adequate? We do sell UPS power supplies. We don't keep too many of them in stock. I know the Papillion Service Center has one right now that we'll shuttle to whatever service center you need to buy it at. But basically, your APCs they're a surge protector with a battery strapped onto it. So you're not getting any much better protection from a surge perspective by having the battery component. But when you're talking about routers and things, one of the things that people don't think about is when your power blinks, how long does it take your internet to come back up? You know, our house, it could take 2-3 minutes for the internet to come back up, which doesn't sound, oh no, 2 or 3 minutes with no internet. Oh! But when you have a 4-year-old who's watching a show on TV and he goes, completely ape because his show stops working and he's in that meltdown mood and you just got him calmed down, for a parent, sometimes that can be the end of the world, right? The other thing, what about power outages? So there's a tornado that comes through, knocks the power out. Your internet's down. That doesn't mean that the internet infrastructure is down. It just means your power is out and your internet is down. So I keep an APC backup on my router and my cable modem, so that if the power goes out or the power blinks, my internet doesn't get interrupted. It doesn't have to reboot, number one. And number two, if there's a power outage, it will run on that battery for hours, maintaining internet through the house in a time that's super scary for littles. So if they have their iPads or whatever, they can chill out and zone into a show or whatever they're doing, play a game, whatever they want. They've got internet. Number two, we can get media in the house. That's always nice, being able to, now that everything is pretty much transmissible. If you use Hulu for your local TV, we have antennas on the TVs upstairs, but not on the TV in the basement. So yeah, having internet is nice there. We can get all the local channels. Yeah, it's just it improves stability and reliability all around to have a battery backup. Considering that the battery backup's only like $30 or $40 more than the surge protector, I don't see why you wouldn't get the battery backup, honestly. All right, let's see. If they're not cleaning the ice cream machines, I wouldn't eat the ice cream at McDonald's. I'm not so sure I like the ice cream at McDonald's to begin with. It's amazing how many Republicans are praying nothing ever happens to Biden. Only time in history that's ever happened. Oh my gosh. Ronald, I'm going to assume that you mean that the good Christian people of America are praying for the health, vitality, and praying for wisdom for the President of the United States in a time of turmoil. I'm sure that's what you meant. It had nothing to do with the Vice President. A lot of times machines at her store would stop freezing ice cream because in the summertime the AC would stop cooling the store and the humidity inside would go up and the summer heat would make the machine overheat. Yeah, I can see that. Where is the UN? Shut the UN down. Russia already vetoed last week. Yeah, they did. Windows 11, is there a way to turn on mouse trailing to make the pointer a different color? My pointer gets lost on the white background sometimes. Well, number one, if that's the case, we can change your background to black. That's easy to do. And, I've never actually checked mouse settings to see if there is the same accessibility, like the mouse tails and stuff like that. Mouse pointer style. Yeah, I can change my pointer from white to black to high contrast. I can change the size of the pointer. I don't see, under accessibility here, I don't see the tail anymore. I don't see the tail. But you can make the pointer giant, you can make it black, you can make it green, you can make it high contrast, black and white. You can change the size of it. You can have it where you click, it has a circle like that pops up. You can turn that on. Let me see. Under related settings, my primary mouse button is my left. Here's my medium speed. Scrolling, scroll 4 lines at a time. Scroll. Additional mouse settings. Oh, now I'm deep in the weeds. I'm seeing the original mouse control panel. Let's see. Pointers. Enable pointer shadow. What does that do? Oh, it's just a shadow. That's dumb. It's literally just a shadow. Pointer options. Yes! I found it! Under visibility, under mouse properties. It's buried deeper than I don't know what. But it's in there and you can turn on pointer trails still. Whew. Exciting radio, guys, right? All right. Not sure if a UPS would work in my case. Yeah, I don't know. Well, you can't power a ton off it. You can buy big ones if you need to. Unfortunately, in case of a weather net, my internet goes down. I have a household microwave transmitter receiver. Ah, well, you just have to. You'd have to put your receiver on a battery backup, and then it would work. As long as the microwave signal can get, which in weather could be kind of challenging. All right. All right, let's see. Is there anything else here? We've got Apple's new M1 chips. This is really interesting. These are 5 nanometer. It's called the M1 Ultra. 5 nanometer chips. They are 90% faster than a 16-core i7 computer. 16-core i7, think like the holiday special. 90% faster. Apple's new M1 Ultra chip is powerful and game-changing in the processor market. It's so powerful that it's hard to comprehend just how much performance Apple is getting out of the M1 chips. The M1 Ultra takes 2 M1 Max chips and connects them using what Apple calls Ultra Fusion architecture. It's a multi-processor computer. This has been going on in servers for years, guys. This is not a new concept. Apple likes to take old concepts that are applicable to corporate stuff, apply them to personal stuff, give them a shiny name, and now it's... Remember the Apple Fusion drive? You know, that was dumb. That was a tiny solid-state hard drive and a mechanical drive working together as a team. That's all it was. So this is a multi-processor computer, been around for years. It's server, basically. Server chips. It works 2 processors in unison to boost performance. It's going to be incredibly expensive. Don't get me wrong. This is going to be an expensive computer from Apple, like tens of thousands of dollars expensive. But it's got 20 cores, 5 nanometer chips, up to 64 graphics processing cores, just crazy amounts of speed. No one's actually laid hands on the M1 Ultra yet, so we can just look at, what Apple is saying about it. And Apple says it's 90% faster. It uses 100 watts less power than the 16-core desktop and 200 watts less power for graphics processing. If you're comparing the Mac Studio with the M1 Ultra, so this is designed for business application. Think content creation, movies, things like that. The Mac Studio with the M1 Ultra processor is 90% faster than the Mac Pro with a 16-core Xeon. So if you just bought a Mac Pro, if you have a little trash can Mac, this computer is 90% faster than the trash can Mac. The M1 Ultra is a beast of a chip, which is technically 2 chips, allowing Apple to blow away its Mac Pro. So yep, Apple's got a high-end offering, which they need to have for all of the large companies. Think Pixar. You know, they're going to buy like 100 of those. You know, it's going to be crazy. All right, so let's see here. What else is going on in the world? This is something that's interesting. It's something from the financial market that kind of came across my screen. So right now, if you are Russia and you have sold bonds denominated in dollars, and let's say American pension funds, like teachers' pension funds, for example, or railroad pension funds, have purchased these Russian bonds because they offered a really good interest rate. The payment is required to be made in dollars. Russia can't send dollars anywhere right now. They can't do anything with a dollar. They can't send it. They can't receive it. They literally are prohibited by sanctions from paying on these bonds. So when a retirement fund buys bonds, there's some risk there, right? So you try to hedge that risk by buying what's called a credit default swap, which basically means if the bond goes south, you'll get your capital back from the credit default swap, or the majority of it. You won't be left out in the cold completely. Russia is now saying it's not that we don't have the money to pay these things back. We have the dollars in the bank account. They're just frozen. We can't access them. So we're going to do the only thing that's within our capability, which is to pay these bonds in rubles. We're going to pay out in rubles. But you see, there's no way to really send a ruble anywhere because none of the banks will work with us. So we're just going to have to set these rubles aside for you. And that's your payment. Whenever we can get it to you, we'll get it to you. Question. Did Russia default? Well, they paid on the bonds. They have the financial resources, and it's documented. We can see that. It's not that they don't have the money. It's not that they didn't pay. But the bondholders don't have their capital back. They don't have their dollars back. And they certainly don't have their interest payments back. And you're going to pay your bond in rubles and set it aside for you? Who wants a ruble 6 months from now? Who wants a ruble now? But who wants a ruble 6 months from now? The inflation rate that's going on in their economy. It's like hyperinflation. Why would you want that? You wouldn't. But did they default? Now, the people that sell the credit default swaps are going to say, I'm not so sure that's a default. I think Russia paid the bill. So now, the pension fund paid money for a credit default swap to ensure that the bond wouldn't go south. So they don't have their money from the bond, they don't have the interest payment from the bond, and they're out the money that they spent on the credit default swap because the credit default swap is saying they didn't default. That's some scary stuff. That the bond market is they can break the bond market. Let me hit you with another one that really concerns me. The concept of private property rights, it's a big deal. It's a really big deal. And I know it feels really good. These rich Russian guys, we're going to take their stuff because they're too cozy with Putin. And it feels really good to do. But nobody is considering the long-term consequences of doing this. So if private property rights exist and you seize somebody's yacht or somebody's Manhattan apartment complex or whatever, and then you liquidate it, you sell it, and keep the money, what due process has that person, who may even have legal status as a resident in the United States, what due process was that person given, or did the government just take their stuff? Just like the Canadian government seized the bank accounts of the money going to the Canadian truckers and the Freedom Convoy. What happens when people realize that what you think is yours can be taken from you like that? How much money do you have in the bank right now? What would happen tomorrow if the government came in and just took it? You can't sue. You could sue, I guess, but how are you going to pay the lawyer? You have no money. Oh, you have a house? No, you don't. We're going to take that and sell it too. Where's your cars? You have you may not have a yacht, but maybe you have a car. Maybe you have a Tesla. We're going to take that Tesla, sell it, keep the money. Let this be a lesson to you, because you associated with somebody we don't like, or you're connected to somebody that we don't like. As unsavory as that is, I mean, these guys are not, they're not Goebbels. They're not running a piece of the Russian government for Vladimir Putin. I'm not saying that some of them are. I don't know them, right? I don't know if they're evil dudes. I don't know. But all I'm saying is, when you start taking anybody's property rights away, you're taking everybody's property rights away. So the United States goes to Russia invades Ukraine. Russia has tried to sanction-proof their economy by spreading their assets out everywhere in the world. They have some United States Treasury bonds. And now we're telling Russia, we've got your bonds, and they're still your bonds, but they're frozen. You can't sell them. You can't access them. You can't touch them. You have a house, but you can't go inside of it. You have a car, but you can't drive it. You have a bank account. We haven't seized your money. You just can't access it. That's what we did to Russia. And I'm not saying that Russia, deserves any easier treatment than what they're getting. Don't get me wrong. This is not an argument for or against sanctions on Russia specifically. This is a higher concept than that. Look at what happens now logically when people can't trust that the money in the bank is theirs, or people can't trust that the property they own is theirs. What happens to society when property rights in a democracy, in a capitalist democracy, break down? It's not fun. It could cause people to say, maybe I shouldn't be holding so many United States treasuries if they can be turned off on a whim like this. Maybe I should have some Chinese debt. Maybe I should have some, Thai debt, or some other country. Maybe I should buy some bonds from India, just to hedge a little bit. Maybe I should have some gold instead of some dollars. Not a lot, just some. So we're going to continue to pump more dollars into the system. $1.3 trillion omnibus spending bill. I do remember, it's been, 15 years maybe? But I do remember a time way back when we actually passed budgets that said where we were going to spend the money, that programmed the spending. The omnibus bill just takes everything that was last year, slaps a rate of increase on it, continue forward this year with these amendments to add these pork things. It's the most wasteful way to do this. And it's a complete dereliction of the responsibility of Congress. And it's not a Democrat thing. Republicans do this too. And so they don't have to get into a fight about all the budgetary things. They can just get what they want and just take it. They don't, why get in a fight when you can just take it, right? This is unsustainable, guys. And then you're going to destroy the property rights that are sustaining the bubble. So the reason that we can do this at all, that we can print this much money, is that that money was being held up in the banks as reserves, right? So the banks were getting paid interest from the Fed for holding on to the money. Yay, you. People were fine with that. So the money was finding its way to the stock market, causing big asset bubbles, going into housing. Housing prices are going up. Everything is awesome. Everything is great. Then inflation starts to hit. Then things get a little wobbly. And then Russia invades Ukraine. And then as a result of that, we destroy property rights. If the faith in the U.S. dollar is undermined to the point where maybe we don't need to all the oil in the world is transacted in dollars. Maybe that doesn't need to be the case anymore. Maybe we could do it in gold. Maybe we could do it in rubles or rupees or yuan or whatever. If that happens, we lose the ability to do what we're doing. And woe be the politician that has to come back and tell people that their $1.3 trillion budget needs to come down to $400 billion. Where do you think they're going to cut? Well, the military is going to take a huge cut. Social spending will necessarily have to take a cut. Medicare, Social Security will have to take a cut. But you can't cut those things because they are required by law, right? Shoot. Well, we're either going to have to change the law or raise your taxes then. So congratulations. We're going to give you your Social Security money, but then we're going to raise your taxes to take it back. Yay, you. Compliance with the law is amazing, right? So before we cheer too loudly that all this is going on with Russia and sanctions and everything else, and that we're sticking it to these evil oligarchs, somebody needs to stop and say, this is dangerous. Like, this is being in a room filled with propane and you're striking a lighter because you don't think it's going to light, but you just keep striking the flint. I mean, it's that dangerous. Like, if this catches, it is apocalyptic. Probably won't catch, but it's apocalyptic if it does. The other thing that's going to happen here in the next few months, and I don't understand all the mechanisms behind it. Please do your own reading on this. The banks, for whatever reason, as a result of Fed policy, are not going to be required to hold on to as many reserves. So all the money that we've been printing that has not been circulating because it's been held up in bank reserves, some of that money, a good percentage of it, is going to start circulating in the next few months. More money chasing fewer goods equals inflation. So yeah, I told my staff the other day, about I think a month ago, 2 months ago, there's something coming, guys. So if you can afford to do it, don't go out and buy things you're not going to use, but go out and buy a year's worth of deodorant. You know you're going to use deodorant. Go buy a year's worth of toothpaste. Go buy, how many tubes of toothpaste is that? Like 4 or 5? Buy a year's worth of toothpaste. but just go out and get these things now so that you've got them and you don't have to worry about them, because I'll guarantee you they're going to cost more in the future than they do today. Lo and behold, here we are with 20% food inflation, probably another 20% coming, 20% fuel inflation in the last month. No, wait, 20%, would that be? What, 20% of like $3.30 would be, 66 cents? So yeah, that's about right for Nebraska. It's less than the national average, but I think we got another 20% in the pipe still. We have not felt the sanctions hit us yet, and they will. We have not felt it yet. Talk to some farmers; they'll tell you have not felt it yet. So on that inspiring, uplifting note, no, it's one of those things where if you can afford to go out and buy a year's worth of this or that or the other, Bounty is removing 3 sheets per roll of paper towel, so they don't have to raise the price on you. So 3 sheets a roll is what it takes to reduce the cost, so that they can keep producing paper towels at the same price. So no matter where you go, you're getting less, you're paying more. With the exception of Schrock, apparently, because, we're a low-cost leader now because we haven't raised our prices. So, we have to think about that a little bit. So, yeah, you might want to get into Schrock during the maintenance sale. We probably are only going to do one this year, guys. We might do another one. I don't know. I don't want to say with certainty, but it's really hard to run discounts and sales in this environment. That's why no one's doing it. Everyone got rid of all their coupons and everything. They're increasing the prices by reducing your discounts. That's the first way to do it so that nobody notices. The second way to do it so nobody notices is to reduce the amount you get in a package. The third way to do it is to just raise the price. And we're seeing now you're seeing the actual prices go up too. Nabisco announced that they're going to be increasing prices across the board. They've already cut everything out. Have you ever bought an Oreo cookie, not the double stuffed ones, but like the OG Oreo cookie recently, and looked at how much filling is between those cookies? I'm just saying that pack of Hydrox cookies is looking like an awful good value right now. There's more filling and the price is a lot lower. I remember when I was a kid, you could get like a giant thing of Hydrox cookies for $1. They had like the 2 rows of chocolate and the one golden one in the middle or whatever, and it was $1 for this giant box of cookies. Whereas like $2 for Oreos, and there was a little package of all chocolate ones. You go get the Hydrox cookies and just go to town. You be a fat little kid. I don't know how much Hydrox cookies cost now, but it's probably not $1. I'm at Lake of the Ozarks. Someone posted a screenshot of a cruiser boat paying over $1,000 of gas for his boat. Wow. How big of a tank does a boat have, I guess? I wouldn't think that the motor is that heavy of a consumption. Oh, let's see. What about Russia saying they won't provide a ride for Americans on the ISS? Can Elon Musk send it? Well, sure, Elon can send a ship up. He's doing it now. They're sending supply ships up all the time. And this is kind of I think this is kind of a bluff. Russia's going to threaten everything right now because they're weak. See, when Russia is strong, Russia punches in the mouth. They don't tell you they're going to punch you in the mouth. They just punch you in the mouth when they're strong. When they're weak, they threaten. Russia is very weak right now. Their military has been humiliated in front of the world by a bunch of conscripts that were supposed to run away. Their soldiers are on social media crying for their moms, saying, "We didn't know. We were told we were coming here to kill Nazis. There are no Nazis here." There was a Ukrainian who got shot a couple days ago. They killed his dog. He had a German Shepherd. They killed his dog. And I don't know if he was trying to shelter the dog or shield the dog or whatever, but he took a graze to the head and he took one through the hand. And after he was shot and he was on the ground, the Russian came up to him and, "You idiot, we're not here to fight you. We're here to fight the Americans in your country." So now I guess they're being told they're fighting Americans. And in the meantime, we reinforce that by cutting off everything American. Is it really a good idea for Kentucky Fried Chicken and McDonald's and Starbucks to leave Russia? is that really a good idea? Think about it for a second. It feels good, right? Sticking it to them. Those Russians are going to suffer. Let's say Joe Biden decided tomorrow that he was going to invade Canada. And we massed troops on the border. And we rolled into Ottawa. And we said, your freedom-loving citizens, democratic citizens of Canada have been oppressed by the evil Trudeau regime with his seizing of bank accounts from the trucker convoy. And we are here to liberate you. Welcome us with open arms. What would you do? You, individually. What would you do? You might protest. You might say some things on radio shows. You might post some things on social media. What are you going to do? Those aren't actions. What are you going to do? Are you going to pick up a gun and go up to the border and fight for Canada against your own country? Oh, wait, in Russia they're not allowed to have guns. Oh, wait, in Russia they're not allowed to protest. Oh, wait, in Russia half the people don't even know what's going on because they don't have any access to information. What do you want them to do? We're going to take their coffee away. That'll teach them. That'll teach them that America hates them. So, like I said, this is really delicate. There's a line here that needs to be crossed where the Russian people are not our enemy. It's the Putin government that's causing all these problems. The Putin government that, yes, is a democratically elected government, but let's be honest. Look at his opponents who've tried to run against him. They've been poisoned with, like, radioactive isotopes and that nasty things. It's not a democracy. It's literally fascism. Literally. What would you do? So I don't know that we can expect Russians to protest and to not support the government, but what are you going to do? MD Simon sends me a laughy face. I'm not sure what part you're laughing at. a crying laugh face. Like, what are you going to... Oh, maybe the invading Canada part. I don't know. But what are you going to do? I don't think the people of Russia, the individual citizens of Russia, can really stop this aside from just outright revolt. But look back through Russia's history. There has never in the history of Russia been a leader ousted because of revolt. Not that I'm aware of, anyway. You've had leaders die in office. When Stalin had his aneurysm or whatever, maybe they didn't rush really fast for the medical doctors. Maybe they stopped for a Starbucks on the way to the hospital, But Lenin died in office. Gorbachev left voluntarily. That wasn't really a people's revolt. It was more of a military coup. It's just not in Russia's DNA to do that. They've never done it before. So anyway, I guess this is why we have really smart people in office to do these things for us, because I don't know what the answer is. I guess what I would do different is if I was tasked with this, I would probably telegraph what we are not willing to do a little bit less. Maybe start positioning assets visibly to insinuate that we might be willing to do more, that we at least have the option to do more. Like, what are our options right now? If the United States tomorrow wanted to impose a no-fly zone, how would we do it? Could we do it with what we have there now? I don't know. But I would make sure that that we're parading reporters by all the equipment. Like, this is all the equipment required to establish a no-fly zone. They're just waiting for the word from the leadership to go out there and do it, so that it's a credible threat. It's not credible right now. You know that Biden is not going to do that. We know that Biden single-handedly stopped Poland from transferring those jets. Single-handedly stopped that because he's afraid of antagonizing Putin. And if you're afraid with all the time of the bully, if he's taking your lunch money every day and your response is, well, I'm going to make sure the food in the cafeteria tastes really bad today so that when you spend my stolen lunch money, you're not going to get good food. Man. Well, at some point, people are going to want good food again. And this is Russia's position. Look at Iran. Ooh, Iran, bad guy. Ooh, Iran, sanctions. Ooh, Iran, we need your oil. What about this? Let's make a deal. Look at Venezuela. Ooh, Venezuela, bad guy. Ooh, Venezuela, sanctions. Ooh, Venezuela, we need your oil. The Guaido guy, yeah, come on. Nicholas, my friend, my good friend, Nicholas. So Russia says, give America a decade. They'll get tired of sanctioning us, and they will lift the sanctions. We will achieve our geopolitical goals. We will suffer for 10 years. And in the grand scheme of history, it's the blink of an eye. And we'll get what we want, and we'll be just fine. That's what Russia believes right now. That's what Putin believes. Is he wrong? Doesn't appear so. I mean, we're still sanctioning North Korea, but they don't have anything we need, right? What do we need from North Korea? Oh, let's see. The second dynasty to rule over Russia was overthrown by the Bolsheviks who executed the royal family. But was that, I guess, my Russian history is inadequate. I have heard of the Bolshevik Revolution before, but was it actually like a people's revolution, or was it a coup? Like a palace coup kind of thing? I don't know. I could look it up. I will learn more about the Russian Bolshevik Revolution later, so that I can speak about it intelligently. Oh, let's see. Well, it'd be great, like Lindsey Graham is like, someone should go in there and assassinate Putin. Well, other people are thinking it, and the CIA, I'm sure, is thinking it too. And I'm sure Putin's thinking it, which is why he's like hidden away in his wolf's lair, in the Urals, in his big mountain complex, not taking visitors very often, and sitting 60 feet away from people at big long tables. He's not going to give anybody the chance to come after him. Notice all the speculation about his health is stopped, though. No one's talking about that. Remember when they were saying, look at his face, he's so puffy. Maybe he's sick. No one's talking about that anymore, so I don't know whatever became of that. All right, guys, got to roll. Thank you very much for joining us for the After Schrock. We appreciate it. If you missed the main show due to the daylight savings time, it will be up tomorrow at SchrockInnovations.com. You can listen to it there, watch it also live. You could also just scroll up on Facebook and watch the video from the show. We did broadcast it on Facebook as well, so it should be just one post back on your feed from Schrock, and you should be able to find that as well. All right, thanks for joining us, guys. Have a wonderful week. Be sure to take advantage of the maintenance checkup sale. There's only a couple weeks of that left. By the way, today was Patch Tuesday, this week was Patch Tuesday. Your computer needs to reboot. Make sure you take the time to reboot your computer at some point to install those patches. Have a great afternoon. We'll talk to you soon.